Hello, everybody, and welcome back to this most esteemed episode of the AEW Dynamite Review Modcast. I am so excited to get into this one. The most excited I've been for one of these since we began, I think, because there is so much to talk about on this one. I am joined, as I am every week, by the adorably smug Dory this week, and she will explain why.
Some people are calling this one of the best Dynamites ever, one of the best episodes of wrestling television ever. I was there, so I can't say one way or the other. But I do want to say one thing that really threw off that show for me, Adam, Fed coded, little Fed coded. I heard
Fuck
between
you.
no, I was so excited. I'm so fucking. I got there like literally sat down and they announced like the matches that were coming up. So I'm so happy I was able to make it. It was a wonderful night. The crowd was incredible.
You
There
cut
was a
it
guy
fine.
next to me who was fucking loudly chanting that Mercedes needs to go back to the Indies, and I want him to never wake up with a nice good rest ever again. So hope that's happening for you,
I gotta
champ.
be honest. I'm not sure I want him to ever wake up again.
I was being nice. I was trying to be nice, but yeah. So I had that dickweed next to me, but otherwise it was an amazing show. I feel very fortunate I was able to go. In all seriousness, it was awesome. But yeah, I'm really excited to talk about it. This will probably be a shorter podcast than usual, just because it was match, and there was very little else going on.
Yes, absolutely. This was full jam-packed of action all night long, and we started off. There were a few people that said, "Oh well, this should have main evented." I personally disagree because the fact that it didn't main event meant that these ladies, Mercedes Moné versus Athena, they got to do more than 20 minutes, which is a first for Dynamite, first for women on TV in AEW. They got to go out there and have maybe the best pure in ring women's match in AEW history. I still think the Mariah versus Tony was better, but that is a pure plunder emotion match. In terms of the in ring quality of work, I think this is probably the best that AEW has ever done.
Yeah, it's got to be up there. I one of the problems was when I was there, is that they didn't show the cameras on the screens for some reason. So whenever Athena and Mercedes went outside, especially when they went to the is specifically like right in front of the ring or whatever. No, not the ramp portion, but the opposite side. They I couldn't see shit. So I missed the LED breaking and I missed a couple spots here or there. But I went back this morning because my body decided 4 hours was plenty of sleep. Luckily, I fell back asleep later. But and I rewatched it through the television and through TV, through Max, whatever. And it was it was excellent. I had a amazing time with this. There are so many good spots. The crowd was hot for this. They were chanting Athena. They were chanting, of course, CEO. We got some Celtics chants in there. I'm very sorry. Sports. I was so annoyed. But basically, a chant for the Celtics might as well be a chant for Mercedes because I mean she goes to their games all the time. So
yeah,
it was actually pretty funny. I heard that this guy on the bus say, "Wow, the Celtics got thrashed tonight." I was like, "That is fucking objectively hilarious." After all of that, let's go Celtics and all the energy for them.
Yeah, I mean, only one, Boston-based sports thing can win at a time, and unfortunately, AEW had the mandate from heaven last night. So,
Yep.
This, oh my god, right at the start of this match, it felt, and I'm not being hyperbolic here, it felt like when Kenny faced Bryan in Arthur Ashe.
Yes.
Just that energy of a crowd that is molten hot, packed to the rafters, and is absolutely desperate to see what these two are about to put on. Like, you get holy shit chants before they've even locked up, which is exactly
very reminiscent
exactly the same.
Yes, exactly the same. Yes.
It's like, And in terms of the action we got, this match had hype up the wazoo attached to it, and not only did they match the hype, I think they exceeded it.
Yeah, this was incredible. Even missing some of the few spots I did, the in-ring action was so good. The punches were so crisp. Just like there's so many cool spots to talk about. The tombstone counters were awesome.
Yes.
There was a little bit of an Eddie chant when Mercedes did the Three Amigos. I'm sad because I watched it back on TV and it didn't really come across, but Tony mentioned it, so it at least came across enough that Tony was able to say it, because I joined in on that chant very quickly. Never miss a chance to chant for the GOAT, but and it's great too because I could mean multiple Eddies here. But anyway, so
Obviously,
this
you're a
was
big fan of Pearl Jam over here. Just
that's
love
right.
Eddie Vedder.
Sorry.
Oh, Jesus Christ. The mic story. What would you do with that?
I know. I impulsively did it, and then my brain's like, no, reel it back. But yeah, it was so good. There were so many good moments, like I said. Is there anything you wanted to go through before we get to the finish?
Yeah, there's like you said about the Three Amigos, she went for 4, which is quite a rarity for her. But then Athena, she just grabs her and she just power bombs the shit out of her. It was like, I think she hit, it was either 3 or 4. She just kept fucking throwing her to the ground, and like sometimes you get power bomb symphonies a la Wardlow, or even I think Brock. I know. Well, it breaks for another Who. I think Brock Lesnar did it early in his career as well.
Sorry.
Okay, and Walter, who is less of a Who.
Okay, less of a Who.
But what's rare about those is that oftentimes you will start off with one and then they'll sort of peter off. No, Athena kept getting like, she hit the first one, ow. Then she hits the second one, ow. And then she hits the third one. I'm like, you're just breaking her fucking neck. Like, holy. But then I think she went, now that I'm remembering correctly, I think she goes for a fourth one and Mercedes counters it and hits her with a backstabber. And at that point, everyone's on their feet because, oh my God,
it looked like a fucking, I couldn't tell so from our angle, it looked even cooler. It didn't even look like a backstabber. It looked like a reverse Ushigoroshi. It looked like she fucking went Adam Cole, but like reverse on her. I couldn't even tell it was a backstabber. So it looked even more amazing from a live perspective. Well, from at least from where I was. But yeah, it was a really cool counter, and I was really surprised by it. The lung blower that Mercedes did earlier was awesome too. Athena did this kind of fucking power slam on the hardest part of the ring.
Oh my God,
Calvin Tankman, which was a great shout. Somebody mentioned that it was the Calvin Tankman power slam on the apron. I forget who said that, but it was really good the way it was done, and it looked really good. It sounded loud as hell. Yeah. Anything else really stand out to you?
I mean, like you said, the spot where they're fighting on the outside. I think Mercedes throws Athena into the non-LED barricade first, which, by the way, she took like she sold like she died. Like she smashes into that barricade and she just collapses face first into the floor. And I think, oh Jesus Christ! But then she gets up. They brawl a bit more, and Athena kicks Mercedes. I think she sort of shotgun drop kicks her into the barricade, and Mercedes hits it so hard it sparks out.
Yeah,
which I think is brilliant.
That was so cool. I didn't see that live, but I saw it when I went back this morning. Go ahead.
I have no idea whether they have any ability to like make that to sort of work that where it's like not actually shorting out. But I choose to believe that it is a genuine sort of they hit it so hard that it broke the LEDs. But
I also choose to believe it. So.
But yeah, this match, oh my God, we could talk about it for ages, but I do want to talk about the finish. It's the first time I think I've ever seen someone counter the O-face so effectively.
I remember Asuka did in NXT, or maybe she took it and she kicked out and she countered the second. But yeah, generally, I've never really seen someone counter the OFA. Did Billy? I can't remember. Billy would be the only other one, but it's very
Yeah, she
rare at any
might have
rate.
done.
Yeah, but it's very rare. It's very, very rare.
In general, it is definitely a
Yes.
sort of a finish that is very well
Yes.
protected. But yeah, then Mercedes sort of countered that and rolled her up for the win, which I was,
Now she didn't
you know,
just roll her up too. I
no,
thought this was
I
just
know.
a yeah. I
I
guess
want to
this is
talk about
this
this.
was some kind of homage to Manami Toyota, I believe.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So I'm all in on that. That's cool.
it's the victory star roll, which
Yes.
very cool to see. God, oh my God, can you imagine? I'm just sort of sitting here imagining Athena versus Manami Toyota. Oh my God, like women's wrestling in America has never gotten to the heights of 90s All Japan. 90s All Japan women with Manami Toyota and Aja Kong and who am I forgetting? Akira Hokuto and stuff like that. But I think if there's anyone and anywhere that it could happen, it is in this company with people like Mercedes, Athena, Statlander. Like, oh my God.
Yeah, incredible
But yeah,
match. I thought it was excellent from start to finish. Yeah, I'm very excited to see what they do next. You know that this is not over. Mercedes got that kind of win on Athena for a reason. I do think Athena is going to get that win back, probably at All In, but maybe at some other point between Double or Nothing and All In. But I think they're just going to tie 1-1, and it's going to be kind of like a similar to Kenny and Bryan. It's going to be kind of an unresolved feud. Maybe down the line, one or the other will get the win. But yeah,
yeah, and
this was
not
an awesome match.
not everything has to be a trilogy, right? Or not
Right,
everything
right.
has to be an immediately blown off trilogy. Like we're still waiting for the final match of like an Omega Osprey trilogy or a Bryan Zack Sabre Jr. trilogy. Like not everything has
Right.
to have that sort of perfect rubber match. You can just go 1-1 and just say, okay, you took the first, I take the second, fair play. But I absolutely expect this match to be even better in a stadium in July. Like,
Yeah.
oh, so it's a magnificent match that makes me even more excited for the second one, which is exactly what it
Adam,
needed to
I
be.
got to tell you, one of the best 4.5 out of 5 matches I've ever seen in my life. Just excellent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just call me Dory Meltzer. I'll be here all week.
Well, you went higher than Meltzer. He went
I
four and a
know. I was
quarter.
just about to say, I went higher than that fucking asshole. But yeah.
Oh, we won't talk about Dave Meltzer in this podcast.
All
Let's just
right.
say,
Instead, let's talk about what happens after. Tony Storm comes out, and this beautiful person on Blue Sky, who I tweeted, who I mentioned before. I'm gonna try to find their account again. Ryan Atkinson. I don't exactly know, but they brought out their big, huge trans flag, and I actually didn't see
yes,
it. I was so locked in, focused on Tony. I was like, "I love you, Tony,"
yes.
and is that I didn't even notice the huge, gigantic trans flag right behind them. And she was
There's
in
a
my
great
section. She was literally in my like I was a few, like not a few, maybe several rows behind where Tony was. So she was like literally in my section. It was amazing. I don't
that's
know
so
when the fuck
cool.
she got there. I presume nobody was paying attention because everybody was focused on Athena versus Mercedes, and rightfully so. I don't know how when she showed up like goddamn Sting or Batman or something, but all of a sudden she's there with Luther, and there's just a huge, gigantic trans flag right behind them. I got like 4 good camera shots of it while I was there, and also on the TV. So AEW did note to other promotions. AEW did not shy away from showing it. So
No,
yeah,
there's a, there's a
that
great
was an awesome moment.
there's a great screen grab I saw on, I think it was Blue Sky, where it looks like Luther is saluting the flag, which I thought was really funny. Like
Yeah,
Tony Storm
somebody
talking.
said Tony Storm came out and Luther came out as trans, and everybody was pleased or something.
We love Luther, trans icon. Anyway, yeah. After that match, we'll just quickly talk about this. Hangman Page is in the back with Renee Paquette, and rapidly gets interrupted by the Elite, who are sort of sucking up to Hangman, saying like, "Oh well, we cost Swerve the world title match is exactly what you wanted. You must be so happy, etc., etc." And he's saying like, "Oh well, we can sort out your Death Riders problem for you. We could get them on side. You can win the tournament." I think he said you can win the Owen Hart and bring the world title back to the Elite just like old times.
Yep.
And Okada says, "Hey Hangman, why are you always angry? Smile like this." Okada's
Everybody
so
in the
funny.
crowd was rolling.
And then he walks away and Okada just goes, "Bitch." And then Hangman turns around and gets right in his face, which I thought was brilliant. Like, there are consequences to your actions, Kazuchika.
Yeah, I think they're definitely teasing that Hangman Okada match at some point.
It will be phenomenal. I would assume that
Yes.
that's maybe a match that you do sort of, I don't know. If you are doing maybe sort of blood and guts with Hangman and the Elite on opposite sides, you could do Hangman Okada in something like Grand Slam Mexico that's just been announced, by the way. Just
Oh
gotta
my
talk about that.
god. Oh my
Or maybe,
god.
or maybe you delay it till after Okada loses the belt at All In, which he definitely is, by the way. Just saying.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's coming and it will be grand.
Yes. Slam.
I do have in my notes here. Guy from hockey team was there with the
All
Stanley Cup.
right. Yeah. Bruins guy
We
came
don't
out, Stanley
we
Cup.
don't
Who cares?
literally we don't need to talk about that.
Yeah, no, we don't.
Because and after the advert break, we had the Owen Hart quarterfinals match. I think the last quarterfinal match left to do, which is Hangman Page versus a wild card. I gotta be honest, I had convinced myself this was Jack Perry.
I was honestly like 50-50. I was like, well, the Bucks are back. That means Jack's due anytime now. I'm like, I want it to be I love Jack, to be clear. I mean, his work isn't as good as it used to be as a face, but I still think he's underrated. But anyway, I thought this would be Jack or Josh, and outside bet, of course, Jeff Jarrett. 15 years these morons haven't learned a damn thing. Anyway, I really liked what we got though, which was the walking weapon himself, somebody I watched a lot back when I used to watch TNA, back when it had better creative, relatively. And yeah, Josh was the highlight always when I watched their pay-per-views. He's just an incredible performer. I don't know, not everybody has to go for a world title. I'm not sure where he's going to fit in. Is he going to go for trios or tags? And then they start talk about world title down the line. But for now, he and Hangman had an incredible match. I didn't like the finish, and I don't care. I would have preferred it that Hangman would have gotten a hard-fought victory by the skin of his teeth, but through a dead eye or through, maybe even give Josh something. He kicks out of the buckshot and a dead eye or something, like really put Josh over, but still Josh loses. I think that would have been fine, and I don't think anyone would have cared. But they went for another roll up, unfortunately. But it's not a huge deal, and it was still a really great match. And I just would have done a different finish, but otherwise, it was a really great match.
I understand why they did it. I agree that it's not the best, but I can see the logic. I don't think it would have been too bad if we hadn't have had a similar sort of roll up in the first match. But there's a whole match to talk about here. I mean, it's an excellent match. Somehow, it's the fourth best match of the night, even though it's a really good match. There's some really good things to talk about here. I fully predict that there was a spot in this match where Josh is sort of hung up on the barricade, and Hangman gets up onto the ramp. Because this set had a really sort of high, long entrance ramp, and he gets up onto the ramp and dives full throttle at Josh and hits him with
he jumped over the crowd. I couldn't believe it. It was
incredible.
It was crazy.
He hits him with like a really sick lariat. I fully predict that will be in the sort of entrance montage, the starting montage for Dynamite
right.
going forward, because it's
right when they play. I'm so excited.
Shot.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah. Jesus Christ.
This was great. Josh and Hangman are such good. This is another reason I wanted this match to happen. They're such good opponents for each other. Hangman and Josh both have a very solid, rough style that they both do. But Paige obviously always does those kind of cruiserweight moves. I mean, he went for an Orihara at one point. Again, I couldn't see it because of the way that the stage is set up. But it looked. But I saw at least the Orihara itself. I just didn't see the impact. But
he hit it so clean. He always
I'm
does.
sure he did. Yes, he always does. You go back as far as 2019, 2020, he hits those Oriharas every single goddamn time, right on point. It's beautiful. Yeah, this was a really hard-hitting match. I love Josh's like splash to the outside that knocked Hangman almost into the barricade. That was a great moment. Obviously, Adam already talked about the moment of the match where Adam fucking jumped over the crowd or jumped by the crowd. It was a weird angle for us in the crowd watching another crowd kind of get jumped past to get for him to get a clothesline on, but it was beautiful. I was like, holy shit. Everybody was like, oh my God, we can't believe that just happened.
Yeah, it was incredible. And this match, like you said, we talked about the finish, not the best finish. I do want to talk about briefly that they seem to be setting up, and this goes into the post-match angle as well, that Josh Alexander's finisher is a power bomb now. Because I was fairly confident that he
has C4.
He has the
There's no
C4.
reason that should be the case. There's no reason unless nobody else. Does anybody else in AEW do a package pile driver? I don't think so.
Well, isn't it a double underhook? In which case you could kind of
double
see
underhook.
like.
You're right. So normally I would say Deanna does it, but guess what they're doing with Deanna, Adam?
I hear that she has been how did Nick Khan put it?
Benched.
Yeah, there we go. But
yeah, she's on that AEW live pay-per-view chat, so she's really getting used.
I mean, it's more than I'm doing.
That's true.
And the amount of dick riding I do for AEW, they should put me under contract.
We should both be getting paid. God damn it.
Honestly, but no, I was going to say that you could see the argument that maybe because Briscoe uses the J driller and the C4 is basically the J driller.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, I don't know. I still think that's not necessarily the greatest excuse to not use it because it's an excellent finisher. And Mark Briscoe only very, very rarely uses the J driller.
I sincerely doubt that Mark Briscoe would be upset about it. That dude's so laid back. I don't think he would care. Josh has been doing it forever anyway. I don't know. I'm convinced we didn't see any finishers. I never saw. The only thing I really saw was that that Alexander hit the tombstone pile driver, but it wasn't a package pile driver, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's true. But the reason why I brought it up is in the post-match angle, which we'll talk about now. Carl Fletcher comes down to talk shit about Hangman because they're facing each other in the semi-finals now.
My God.
And they get into it. They properly start going for each other, and you just see the camera pan to Don Callis at ringside, just whispering in Josh Alexander's ear.
We let him fucking have it, by the way. Boston fucking let Don. I know every crowd does, but we fucking told him off. I took a couple videos. We were loud and proud about fuck Don Callis.
But Josh Alexander then obviously has struck a deal with the devil because he then comes in and attacks Hangman from behind. And
it's great. It's great chronologically too, because I know that neither Adam nor I, probably most of our listeners, don't really watch TNA, and like I said, I don't really either. But I believe Josh went out on his back as a heel, so it is good. It makes good chronological sense in a way. He is leaving as a heel and he's coming in as a heel. I think that's fine. I mean, obviously people love him, but I don't think it'll hurt him to be a heel. And I think he's great in the Don Callis. I mean, let's look at that fucking faction. Konosuke Takeshita, Josh Alexander, and Fletcher, plus, Kyle, the Protostar Fletcher, and I guess Lance Archer is there too. And that's just such an incredible faction.
Yeah, absolutely. It might be the most stacked faction in AEW, like possibly in AEW history, to be honest. Maybe with the possible exception of the Elite when they're all together. But even so, Takeshita, Fletcher, and Alexander is a dream team. And that's not even mentioning people like, you've got Mark Davis, you've got the, the Murder Machines, Brian Cage and Lance Archer. Like, holy shit. Fair play to Don Callis. He knows how to pick them. But yeah, so then Josh Alexander hits the power bomb, which is what I was talking about. He had the opportunity to hit him with whatever he wanted, and he hit him with the power bomb.
Yeah,
I guess
so maybe you're right. I don't know. We'll see.
Then I guess you could also say that then Fletcher hits the brainbuster, and you don't want to overshadow the brainbuster. But I don't know.
Right.
That's just yeah. Whatever. Fuck Don Callis. So yeah, after that they went to commercials, as you Americans say. Come back, and we had a brief backstage promo. I just want to talk about this briefly because we are a bit pressed for time today. But you had a brief backstage promo with the Patriarchy, when Nick Wayne is talking about where is Christian Cage, blah blah blah, and Kip Sabian just says, "Look," and the pans over, and Christian Cage is there listening to the whole thing.
Well, at least I didn't hear the look thing from Kip. The camera just panned over, and Christian was there.
Yeah, and he just comes into shot, and he's come, "Daddy's home, Nick." Which
and
will
to
be
quote one of our friends, Tumblr was going to have a field day with that clip.
Yeah, that will be clipped and mean to eternity. Christian Cage says, you've had a hell of a month. I deliberately gave you a month to find yourself because you basically needed to not be sort of controlled by me or whatever. And he said, I'm letting you grow. I'm giving you opportunities to grow as a father should, and I've secured you a spot in the best of the Super Juniors in New Japan, which will be really fucking good for Nick Wayne, by the way.
Yes.
And he set up for tomorrow night, well, tonight, as we're recording this podcast, an ROH television title match against Commander, which should be absolutely brilliant, because these two, like, this will be flippy shit upon flippy shit upon flippy shit, and it will be brilliant. This might be my most anticipated match of the entire collision tonight. I'm really looking forward to it. He says, "I know you won't let me down intentionally," and he sort of does that sort of light slap on the face, and then the third time he just wallops him, which I thought was really good.
Yeah, good shit. This was a great segment. Next up, we have the tag team match, unless there's anything left to say.
Yes, we do, I believe.
Yes.
This was, this was more than I was expecting.
Yeah.
I don't, if anyone thought that the Gates of Agony stood a chance in this match, I have a bridge to sell you. But it was good for what it was. It was probably the best Hurt Syndicate title defense since they won the belt. My money. I don't know what you think.
It's got to be up there for sure. I love Gates of Agony, so I'm glad they got this chance to show off. Toa looked great as always. I made a Simon Miller joke where when he did the Samoan drop on Shelton, I was like, well, it's a good thing he's Samoan, otherwise that'd just be a drop. But anyway, but yeah, this was great. This was very physical. I missed the spear from Bobby to Toa outside the ring, but then I did see the spear that Bobby gave Bishop inside the ring. This was very physical, very close quarters, good stuff. They isolated Shelton for a bit before Bobby came in, cleared house, and got the pin. I know we're breezing through it, but honestly, there's not much to say. It was pretty good, and I like the Gates, and I love the Hurt Syndicate. But we hurt people. I am very happy with how loud Boston was. I was a little nervous at first because it sounded like we were a little quiet about hurting people, but eventually we started really building up. We hurt people. This was great too. So I'm on the way back from the venue, going back to the car, and this cannabis place is blaring "We Hurt People," and it was completely organic. I don't know who did it, but that was amazing. So I took a video of it. But yeah, this was a great match, but there's really not much to say.
Yeah, it happened. It was good for the Gates of Agony. I hope they're not sort of lost in the shuffle after this.
Exactly.
Though I expect that they might be, just because there's a lot of building that needs to be done with the tag division right now.
Yes.
But good match for what it was. We'll talk about the segment afterwards where MJF comes out. This was controversial online. I think this was the bit where if anyone had anything negative to say about this show, this was where they sort of focused their attention. Which is MJF comes out and he does the whole cut my music, everyone knows who I am, blah, blah, blah. He hit a really good line where he was like, some people, I'm not naming names, are slow learners. And Lashley's like, what the fuck did you just say about me? And starts chasing him around MJF's like,
Yeah, it was so good because he was like, I didn't say any names. Boston, did I say any names? And we all go like, no, he didn't. It's true.
But yeah,
great. He was kind of a face here, which is very strange since he's from New York. If he had just mentioned that once, he would have gotten so many boos. But for some reason, he held back. But I think because he's trying to associate with the Hurt Syndicate, which at this point, let's be real, they're baby faces. I don't think there's any illusion about that at this point. They came in as heels, but they very quickly turned, very organically turned. They haven't changed character at all. They've just been fighting heels like Gates of Agony instead of faces like the Outrunners or Private Party.
Yeah, they're just too cool to boo. That's the problem.
They're too fucking cool. Absolutely. But yeah, I love MJF and I support him with this segment. If anybody didn't like this segment, we use this image, this moving image. Of course, I will not use the word because I know it upsets Adam. But fuck him. This was a great segment. This was hilarious. The crowd was laughing. I know Boston doesn't always have the best sense of humor, but this was fucking funny. You need to support sex workers and get on their level. And Max even fucking tweeted out that you should support sex workers and stop being a fucking crybaby about it. So, I really liked this segment. I thought it was very funny. And it's not like it convinced anybody. Basically, he brought out a bunch of women to convince the Hurt Syndicate to let him in. It didn't work. So, like, I don't even know what we're getting upset about. Like, it's not like Shelton almost did it, but ultimately he did, not even with the watch he did. But he's obviously, I think what's going to happen is Shelton is eventually going to be convinced. Bobby's going to be pissed. He's like, you know what? He's not getting in here unless he beats me. And then MJF, of course, cheats to beat him. And then MVP's like, that's just business. And then obviously we build off that little tension between the group. Maybe eventually MVP kicks him out or Shelton, or I don't know what happens there. But I like it. I like a lot of it. I think at this point, they've been teasing it too long. MJF is probably eventually going to join the Hurt Syndicate, which is fucking hilarious. That's like, I know I said this earlier, but one of the most objectively hilarious members of the Hurt Syndicate is MJF. But yeah, this was a great segment. I thought it was funny. You can get all, I understand, like, feminist point of views and stuff like that, using women as exchange of goods or whatever. But like, they were to me, they were clearly sex workers, and it's like, you need to like be more sex positive, dude. But anyway, it was a good segment, and I laughed and I had fun with it.
It was like everyone who hated this is a swerve.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to have an idea of doing a fucking call out Tumblr post. I never got Tumblr going, but I was gonna do a blog called Swerf and Turf instead of Surf and Turf, and just call out a bunch of anyway. It was a great idea, but I never did it. So apparently, according to AEW results, Shelton was about to give the thumbs up until he looked at Bobby. See, I didn't know that.
Yes.
So that's interesting.
Yeah, I think he must have been facing away from you guys, but yeah, he sort of hovers his thumb, middle in, and then he turns it upwards, looks at Bobby. Bobby's glaring at him, and he's just like, no. But what makes it funny is that they're fucking businessmen. So MJF is so desperate to join them, they're obviously going to take advantage of that. He buys them like 7 women and a solid gold Rolex, and they're like, oh yeah, thank you. Yeah, still not enough though, because they know that he's so desperate that he could do. There's still more to come. But I think that this is probably building towards MJF versus Lashley, probably at Double or Nothing, which is why we're stringing this out a bit. Because we still have 5 weeks to go until that show.
And honestly, I'm very excited for the build because this build has been awesome. So
it really has. Good stuff. Straight after the commercial break, you have Alicia too, who is always in these segments when it comes to MJF, which I think is very funny.
Nice little wink and a nod.
Yeah. And Shelton sort of said they dismissed the ladies, which I think the Boston crowd wasn't very happy about. If I heard the mics correctly, but Shelton basically said that he doesn't trust MJF. But MVP says that, like, you know, we can use him to get what we want, which is a really good motivation. Like I say, they're businessmen. They're going to take advantage of someone who is that desperate to join. So they can, like I say, they can use him to.
And to be clear, MJF's motivations here are also very clear for like what he wants out of it, right? He wants some, wants to be in the Hurt Syndicate, but not just because like, oh well, he wants to belong with like 3 really cool guys, because he wants that world title back, and he wants to use the Syndicate so he can get that title back, because he doesn't think I think MJF doesn't think he can beat the Death Riders by himself, and so I think that's why he's doing it. Although I think by the time anything does happen with the Hurt Syndicate, I think he will be, I think the Death Riders might not be a thing anymore. But
Equally,
but that'll just mean Hurt Syndicate plus MJF can take over as the new big faction if they need to.
But equally, that also works because if we're assuming that, say, either Ospreay or Hangman will win the Owen and probably beat Fox. There's a built-in story there where Max has lost to both of those men. He lost to Ospreay at All In, and he lost to Hangman Page even more recently than that. So you can still do the story of like, well, I can't beat these people I can't beat this person who is world champion. If I have you guys on my side, then my odds are far greater. But yeah, good angle, building up some good stuff. Now, I want to talk about the next thing. I just want to talk about it. Oh my God, genuinely, I haven't felt like I did during this match. To preface this is the semi-finals of the Owen Hart World Cup, Owen Hart tournament. It's Will Ospreay versus Konosuke Takeshita 2. The first match being Revolution 2024, which was an underrated match in terms of one of the best AEW matches of all time, for my money. Just phenomenal. I didn't know if they would equal it here. And for my money, they didn't equal it. They exceeded it. They topped it. I haven't felt this way during a match since maybe Ospreay versus Danielson last year, where I was my nose was running. I was hyperventilating. I was so excited. I was so amped up about this match. Oh my! This was a religious experience of a match, Dory.
Yeah,
this was
incredible. This is on my match of the year list. I was just incredibly impressed by both guys here. You're right. I was curious how good this was going to be. If you look back at the beginning of the show, when this graphic is shown out of all of them, this one gets the loudest pop, and it was the best match of the night. And I loved Mercedes versus Athena, but this was match of the night. This was an incredible, like you said, almost religious experience. Now, I know some people might criticize the 2.999 ad infinitum kickouts and all the finishers and so I don't fucking care. I don't mind when promotions do this once in a while. There is a way to overdo it, which Prime NXT did sometimes, but I do not feel like AEW is in that category. I feel like AEW has balanced it very well, specifically on this card. Athena and Mercedes never hit each other's finishers. They were they were teased, but they were never hit. Hangman and Josh didn't either, although they were teased, so on and so forth. So I think that this was great. This was a good counterbalance where we saw a lot of finishers, but they just couldn't get the job done. I mean, there's so much to talk about with this match. There's so fucking much. It starts, or at least one of the early moments, and I'm reading this from the results page, is Ospreay countering a powerbomb with a Hurricane Rana. And that was impressive enough. And that was just the early parts of the match.
Yeah, this started at like an 8. It started at an 8, and it went up to like a 15 real fucking quick. Because, believe it or not, I think this went longer than their Revolution match. Like, this TV match went longer than the pay-per-view match because it deserved to. So if they're going to pull out the sort of things that they did in this match, like there's so much in all sorts of it all sort of blends into one incredible mush in my mind. But I have got my notes here that just um even before the first picture-in-picture break, I'm just reading through all my notes of like, get the power bomb into the Hurricane Rana. Konosuke Takeshita hits him with a Takeshita line after Ospreay has already jumped over him, done that sort of springboard, um, the sort of springboard flip over his back that he loves to do. Takeshita hits him with the sort of his version of the Rise of the Terminator over the top, which is so impressive for him to do because he's a big boy.
Yeah.
It's insane. And this is all before the first and only picture-in-picture break, because they said that they were going to present this with minimal interruptions, and they did, which only adds to the match. Oh, I'm exhausted just thinking about it. It's insane. I'm going to watch it straight after we finish this podcast. There's so much to talk about. I realize I'm doing a sort of stream of consciousness thing here. I'll let you talk. Tell me what you thought
Yeah.
about this.
I loved it. I mean, start to finish, I was enraptured by it. I think that's the best way to say. I barely looked at my phone. I was just completely glued. This was so good. I love that Ospreay still hits the Stun Dog Millionaire. Oz cutters aplenty. There was an Oz cutter onto the ramp that looked beautiful.
That's a good point. He hit the stand-on millionaire off the top rope, which I've never seen before. Like Takeshita was going for the brainbuster on the corner like he did in the first match, but Ospreay countered it into a stand-on millionaire off the top rope, which was insane. And that wasn't even 10 minutes in.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Other highlights. Obviously the Blue Thunder Bomb, the least devastating move in all of sports entertainment. Did it get the victory? No, it did not. But just an incredible reversal, and it was great because the first time he went for the Blue Thunder Bomb reversal, Ospreay knew it was coming, so he reversed it into like an arm drag or some shit. It was amazing. I mean, I've never seen somebody counter the Blue Thunder Bomb like Takeshita does it before, so that was really special.
Yeah, it really was. There's a moment. Yeah, I think he counters him with the Blue Thunder Bomb. He takes him into an arm drag, and Kester is all disoriented. He spins around just as Ospreay hits him with the Os cutter.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. There's a sort of moment in this match. I'm trying to remember. Gosh, there's so much. Oh yeah, I wanted to point out this is the first time I think in AEW that Ospreay has actually hit the Sky Twister. Because it always transpires that he goes for the Sky
It was
Twister.
in slow motion, dude. When he did that, I swear to God, time slowed down for a split second. I couldn't believe what I was seeing.
It's a bit like sort of Kota Ibushi in New Japan, where he'd go for the Phoenix Splash and it'd always fail. Ospreay would always try to hit the Sky Twister press, and he would either miss or he'd land on his feet, and it would transition into something else. This is the first time where he's actually just properly gone splat on someone, and it looked brilliant. Yeah, there's so much to talk about. We haven't even gotten to the fucking kickouts at one, which I think at that point I was already sort of like glued to my screen. I could feel my pupils dilating. I could feel my heart racing. And then they did that where it started. It started with like, oh, sorry, I'm rambling. There's a moment in this match where Ospreay goes for the Oz cutter, and Takeshita just smashes him with a forearm in midair, like the Ospreay Danielson match where he hit him with the Busaiku knee. And at that point, I was like, "Oh, this is going to be a match of the all-time contender, isn't it?" But oh, Jesus Christ!
Yeah.
There's a
We get towards the finish. Ospreay starts hitting Takeshita with Takeshita's own finishers. Takeshita hits Ospreay with his finishers. That was an incredible moment too.
With a hidden blade.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen somebody do that, except obviously like the Spirit Gun from Ricochet, but that's different because he's bald, but also because it's the Spirit Gun. Yeah, and then we go for the whole Kenny Omega 1 count kickouts from both of these guys. That was incredible. Oh my God. This was a match of the year contender. It was 5 stars. I mean, I loved it. Start to finish.
I just want to talk about the final stretch if we can, just before we move on.
Yes.
It's like Takeshita gets him up onto the top rope. He smashes him in the face with a lariat. And Will Ospreay flips over and lands on his fucking feet. He hits him with a hidden blade, and it's the closest near fall I've seen in a long, long time. Where he smashes him with a hidden blade, Chester kicks out 2.99, and Ospreay goes for the hidden blade again, counters it. Takeshita tries to hit him with the Raging Fire, but Ospreay twists him around, twists and turns, and he picks him up and hits him with the Styles Clash, which I thought was the finish. I thought that was it. And he kicked out again. It was incredible. And he went for another hidden blade, and Takeshita stopped him, hits him with a knee. He hits him with a knee. Takeshita's patented pile driver knee, which he's fitted. We killed Kenny Omega with that move. And Will Ospreay gets up and I can't even remember how he transitioned. Yeah, Will Ospreay, he bounces off the ropes. Takeshita goes to hit him with something else, goes to hit him with another knee. He does that flip over where he's setting up for a power bomb, and he just hooks both of his arms, picks him up, and Stormbreakers him. One fluid move, 1, 2, 3, and I think at that point I collapsed.
Yep.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Just thinking about it. Yeah, after this is over, after we finish this podcast, I'm just going to go and watch the whole thing again and have another spiritual experience. I don't know whether you have anything to add. If you haven't seen this match, go and watch it, and then watch it again, and then probably watch it a third time. This is far and away. I didn't think this was possible after Mariah May and Toni Storm. This is far and away my match of the year so far. I don't know about you.
Match of the night or match of the year? Sorry, I got distracted.
No, match. I said after Mariah May and Toni Storm, I didn't think someone would take the crown so quickly, but this is my match of the year so far.
It's up there for me. I don't know. I'd have to check out my whole list. It's a lot of Kenny. And there's some Ospreay, there's some Swerve. I need to look it over, but it's up there. It's up there for sure.
Yeah. And then we need to talk about the main event, which I was very much worried that this would be the sort of classic.
I couldn't believe. I was like, how fucking unlucky. Look, we can all criticize Death Riders as much as you want, but you cannot dispute that the way Tony's been booking this, obviously he has the power to book it differently. That's not my point. But every single fucking time they're going after somebody, it's like one of the best matches of all time. And like, yeah. Okay, like we can criticize how Jon Moxley works. I have. But like realistically, what the fuck is he gonna do with that kind of booking? Well, it turns out what he's gonna do is fucking get choked out by Samoa goddamn Joe. Let's go!
Yeah. Incredible. Yeah, to put to your point, this is from memory. Every single Death Riders main event on like pay-per-view. The Full Gear one followed Will Ospreay versus Carl Fletcher. The World's End one followed Kazuchika Okada versus Will Ospreay. The Revolution one followed Will Ospreay versus Carl Fletcher in the steel cage and that whole 3-match stretch. The Dynasty one followed Omega versus Speedball versus Ricochet. Like, yeah, you could talk about, the main event letdown. It's a letdown because the match that precedes it is always a match of the year contender somehow.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is maybe the first case of it not deflating, and I think that is entirely because this match finally they figured out how to counter the Death Riders, and it turns out it was just the power of friendship and big fucking beefy men killing each other all along.
The answer was Samoa Joe. I think one of our friends is going to be particularly happy with me saying that, but the answer was Samoa Joe. And the answer is always Samoa Joe. And if your teacher ever says, hey, little Jimmy, what's 2 + 2? And you tell her Samoa Joe and she doesn't say that's correct, put her in the Kukita clutch. Like that.
I mean, the numbers don't lie.
That's right. The numbers don't lie. And they spell disaster for Jon Moxley. I think that's how that goes, right?
It is now.
I do in all seriousness. We in the live crowd didn't quite understand what was going on, but I guess Hook was out and he was getting observation by the hospital and stuff. Want to send good wishes to Hook. Don't know what's going on with him, but hope he's okay. There's some reports that he was dealing with some health issues last week that didn't sound good. So hope he's doing okay. But they found an incredible replacement.
They really did, and not only did they find an incredible replacement, just on paper. They found a replacement that makes perfect narrative sense.
Yes. I loved them getting Hobbs. The spoilers, everybody, because it worked so well because he'd already challenged for the belt. He'd gotten injured by Mox, so he's already taken like 2 big L's to Mox. This was really him getting his revenge, finally, like getting a bit of victory over Mox. I mean, he didn't get the pin, but he's now a trios title holder. Hobbs hasn't been any kind of title holder since FTW tag team. I can't remember.
No, he was TNT champion at one point. I know that for sure.
Right, he was.
For like
That's
3 fucking days.
yikes. That's right, because he lost it to who did he lose it to? Did he lose it to Joe?
He lost it to Wardlow.
Oh, anyway, who?
Hold,
Anyway, let's move on.
hold on. Keep talking. I'm just gonna look this up.
Yeah. So they're saying the Hook is still under observation, and John Moxley can fill in for Pac, so Hobbs can fill in for Hook. So it was great. I mean, Hobbs immediately went on the offense, fucked around, and Yuta fucked around and found out, is what I mean to say. And Hobbs just took him to town business. I remember when that used to be one of his signature moves. And we ate it up in the crowd. We were all chanting, "Fuck you, Wheeler Yuta! Fuck you, Yuta!" It was so good. Everybody was having a great time with this match. This was all about vibes. Look, I'm not saying this is a 5-star match. It's not. It's like a 4-star match for me, but it was.
Yeah, agreed.
The vibes are immaculate, especially the post-match vibes, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But
yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
But yeah, did you find what you were looking for? Or you want me to keep vamping?
Yes, I did. So he beat Wardlow for the title. He had a few defenses. He beat Ray Phoenix in a match apparently, which I'm assuming was very good, and Penta straight after. But then he lost it again to Wardlow. So yeah, the TNT title scene in 2022-23 was not good, ladies and gentlemen. It really took a father figure to fix that title.
Absolutely, it did.
But I digress. This match, yeah, like you say, in ring, it was good to very good because you have people like Katsuhiro Shibata and Claudio Castagnoli who I think are incapable of putting on a bad match. You have, but like you say, the vibes of this match, the vibes of finally the baby faces in AEW have figured out the solution that people like Orange Cassidy, people like, well, even John Moxley has basically been saying, this is the solution. You all are going to need to work together to beat, because if you try and take me down one-on-one, we will destroy you. And a load of people have tried and they have been destroyed. But finally, through the power of working together, you have people like Willow, Swerve, the trios in question, everyone finally doing their bit to take down the Death Riders, and it culminated in a really excellent feel-good moment. As it should, because this show was always meant to be a celebration of AEW Dynamite. So to end the show with finally the big bad heels who have been running roughshod over the show for 6 months, getting their comeuppance, losing the belt, and the entire babyface locker room coming down to congratulate them, it was a perfect ending. It really was.
Yeah, it was really well done. Basically, to speed along towards the finish, Mox grabbed the steel chair because it wasn't working out well. Joe was dominating Yuta, and Willow ran out. I immediately saw her and screamed, "What?" And she took the chair away from Moxley, flipped him off, Icon Queen, and Shibata took care of Claudio. Joe power slammed Yuta. Sorry, there's a little before. Then the Young Bucks, the Bucks of Youth, as some might say. Have you been? Can you tell I've been watching 2020 AEW? Anyway, the Bucks of Youth head out, and they just get booed like all hell. And Matt grabs the steel chair, but Swerve comes out. Some of us missed this because again, they didn't for some reason put fucking screens on. But Swerve comes out or comes from under the ring. I'm not sure exactly what happens, and pulls the chair away, uses the Swerve Stomp to take out both of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I really love the commentary calling. You probably didn't see this. Well, obviously you
No.
didn't see this live on the commentary, but the commentary calling back to the line, "Oh, it's buck hunting season," because
Mhm.
it's the way it should be. If you're going to do the story, every time the bucks are seen, in the ring or whatever, Swerve should be hunting them. He should be stalking them. It's brilliant storytelling. It really is.
Yes,
And
it
this
is.
crowd, as every crowd is in AEW, it was molten hot for Swerve Strickland. Like
Yeah.
he's the guy. He's one of the guys. Because you could talk about like Will Ospreay and Hangman Page. Swerve Strickland is up there as I think he's the best signing that AEW has ever made, personally. Um, just putting that out there. I know it's not necessarily the focus of the podcast, but
Right, right.
that's my sort of thing. Like all of the strands of the Death Rider story came together here, and it was just a wonderful moment.
Yeah,
And
it was
yeah,
really well done. So Shibata takes out Claudio, like I said, and Yuta goes for a tope, but Hobbs plants him on the announcer's desk. Again, see my previous comments. Marina cracks Hobbs with a steel chair. This from AEW results. Willow wipes out Marina, and then Joe counters the Death Rider move with the Kukita clutch, and Mox taps, or does he pass out? I don't know.
I didn't see this. I assumed he passed out because when they panned back
Yeah,
to him, he was like faded out or whatever. Um,
right, right, right.
he passed it very quickly. I will say that. Get
Yeah.
stronger veins, John. But
Bro did not get his 9 hours.
yeah, honestly. But yeah, really, really excellent feel good moment. I just want to say before we wrap this up, just as an overall vibe of this show, which for my money, might be the best episode of AEW Dynamite of all time.
Which
Two
is
match of the year
crazy
contenders.
because we were just talking about one of the best Dynamites ever, not even a month ago. I checked
I,
the
I know.
March 19th episode or whatever the fuck it was. The March 19th episode we were saying could possibly be one of the best episodes. Now, not even 4 weeks later, we've got another contender for one of the best Dynamites, not just of the year, but of all time. I mean, this
Yeah,
run that you can criticize Death Riders or whatever, but this run that AEW is on is incredible. I mean, stay on that weed, stay on that good, Tony. Whatever you got to do,
honestly,
buddy.
honestly, this show, I just want to put over the vibe of this show because there was a lot of hype coming in about it's the Dynamite that passes Nitro, and you saw a lot of suggestions online of like, oh well, Tony should be petty TK and bring in I don't know Sting or have Tony Schiavone bury Nitro on commentary or whatever. I really appreciate that they did the best possible fuck you to Eric Bischoff that they could do, and that is put on one of the best shows of all time. They let
Yeah, I just want
this.
to say for the record, as someone who was there live, fuck what Adam just said. TK should have come out in a fucking golf cart, and it was incredible. And he should have, fucking Speedball should have come out in a karate outfit, and somebody should have dyed their hair white or for no reason. It should have been fucking balls to the wall. But so come on, TK, what are we doing? Time cop, bro. Go back in time and do it over again. But anyway, in all seriousness, this was incredible. I loved it. It was an amazing show. One of the best AEW shows, probably the best Dynamite I've ever been to, that I've ever been to live. So very thankful I got to go, like I said, and had a great time with it. And yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about it, and even if quickly, but honestly, like we said, not a ton to talk about, not a ton of speculation or angles or anything like that. Really needed, just incredible matches. Where the best wrestle, indeed.
Yeah, there's nothing more I could say about the show other than if you haven't seen it yet, go out of your way to see this show. You will not be disappointed. And if you've seen it already, watch it again because there will be stuff that you missed. There will be excellent wrestling that you didn't pick up on the first time. There will be things that you will go, oh, that's awesome. Because I'm going to go and watch that Will Ospreay Takeshita match again because there were things that I probably missed in that match that will increase my enjoyment of it even more. So yeah, AEW is on. It's a cliche at this point, which is just testament to how often it's been true. But AEW is on fire right now, and this show is the pinnacle of everything AEW has done over the past few months. to build itself up to be where the best wrestle. And on
The last thing I want to
WrestleMania
say
weekend,
is, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say on WrestleMania weekend, 4 things.
Yes. And I was just good because I was just about to bring up the competition. Competition's crying about how they're the underdogs. You sure as shit are now.
Yeah. AEW is the number one professional wrestling promotion in the world. That
It's
is what
true.
we're going to end on. Thank you
That's
so much
right.
for joining us for this episode of our review podcast. Thank you so much to Dory for giving us the insights of being someone who was there, which I will never forgive you for.
Fair.
I cannot believe that the show that you get to go to
I
is the
can't
best
believe it either.
episode of all
I knew it was
time.
going to be a great show, but I had no idea. But yeah.
But
All
yeah,
right.
brilliant stuff. If you liked it, like, comment, and subscribe. And share it around to all your friends. It really does help us. But yeah, that should pretty much wrap us up. Go AEW. Thank you so much for joining us. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.